Alright, this is Chapter 3, Section 5. This is the second video. The first video we made tree diagrams, probability tree diagrams. Now we're making probability Venn diagrams, which can be the sample space or the actual probabilities, essentially. We're going to make them with the actual probabilities. Okay, in this example here. So you go to a college, 40% of the students have gym memberships and 50% of them work part-time. 5% the students work part-time and have gym memberships. Let's see, B, the students have gym memberships, and T, B, the students work part-time. Let's draw the probability Venn diagram. Alright, so we do that. Okay, so the question is, can you be both? Yeah, we said there could be both. That was 5%, correct? Therefore, this is a joint Venn diagram, which means they're not mutually exclusive, right? And you can do C here or T here or vice versa. I'm going to put C here and T here. So there are many variations of the same one because of the fact you can switch the circles, you know what I'm saying? So essentially this is both right here, right? Probability of C and T. Right, so that's the 5%, correct? Okay, so it said 40% for C, so you cannot put 40% here. That is not true. It's not 40% like the problem says, because the whole thing is 40%. Right? So we erase this. Because this right here specifically is the probability of the gym membership and part-time, but you're not part-time here, correct? Whereas you are part-time here. So this is actually 35, right? Because both of those together will give you the 40%. So it says working part-time is 50%. So this is not 50%. That cannot be true, right? Because together they have to be 50%. So this is 45. Because this right here is the part-time and no gym membership. Okay? Alright, and don't make multiple variables for the same thing. Don't make gym membership and non-membership two variables. Don't make working part-time and not working time two variables. Utilize the not notation. Otherwise, you're going to have 4 circles and it'll be an absolute mess, correct? But we also have this area out here, don't we? Which is no gym membership and not working part-time, correct? Okay, well if I add this up, that's 40 and 45 is 85, so essentially I have 15% of people are neither, which means they don't have a part-time job and they have no gym membership, essentially. Okay? Alright, and there's a few tools online to make Venn diagrams pretty easily. I've already made one ahead of time. Oop, let me get that back there. Let me get this in here. Hold on. Where's my snipping tool? There we go. Okay, so where'd it go? Copy, and we'll paste that there. Okay, so we don't need all this space now. So remember, the total area has to be 1, right? So the area has to be 1, essentially, right? Okay, so if I convert this to symbols, what do I have, essentially? Let's get our questions in here. Right? So P of C is obviously the whole circle, correct? So that's 40%, right? That's 40%. P of T is the whole circle, right? The whole circle. So that one is 50%, right? C and T is the middle, right? C and T is both. So that's the 5%. T but not C, right? That's this one here. That's 45, right? C and not T is this one, right? So that's the 35. And neither, right? Because neither, right? The little exclamation always means the same thing as the 15, correct? Okay. So the tricky one is the or. Okay. So if you think about or means, right? That's everything. You just add them all up, don't you? So typically you would add up C plus T and subtract out the middle. You could do that if you wanted to, right? So if you add the 40% and add the 50% and subtract the 0.05. That'll give you 85%. Or you could just simply add them together, right? Add the 35 and the 5 and the 45, right? So either way, whether you add each individually and subtract out the overlap or just add them all up, either way you're going to get 85. Okay? So you're one or the other, because this is neither, which is the 15%. Which you could also get it from there. You just do 1 minus 50%. You can also get 85%. So there's 3 ways of getting that one, essentially. Whichever you want from a Venn diagram is more than fine. I'm not too picky on that, essentially, right? Okay, let's do some conditionals now. Let's see if I can get these in screen. Okay, a little bit more room there, right? Okay. Actually, let's do these side by side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this one up to here and then move it over a little bit so I can get some room there, right? So these are clearly not the same in most of the probabilities that we do, right? So this is the probability of C and T, right? Over the probability of T, because that's our condition, right? This is the probability of T and C over the probability of C, because that's our condition, right? All right. So whether it's C and T or T and C, either way it's 5%, right? So 0.05. 0.05. Okay, probability of T we already know is the 50%, right? 50%. And probability of C is the 40%. Okay, so we've just proven it's not the same thing, right? Because obviously this one's 5 out of 40, and this one is 5 out of 50, essentially. Okay, so that's a probability Venn diagram, so each of the items in it are the probabilities. They can also do the sample space in there too and figure out the fractions accordingly. Okay. Okay, so this one we just did is this one, right? And this one we just did is this one. Okay. Let's look at what I'm working the other way around, right? So if we work the other way around, let's make this smaller so we can see it. Oh. Okay. And we'll do this. Okay, so if we label the items we have here, this is the probability of D and T, right? So the question is talking about domestic vehicles and trucks, right? So this is the probability of a truck and not domestic. This is probably of domestic and not a truck, right? So out here is the probability of not domestic and not a truck, right? So this whole circle is the probability of being a truck, and this is probability of cars. Okay? All right, so it's internationally what they do is when they look at vehicles, they put cars and trucks in 2 different categories as far as being sold and transported around the world for shipping. And if you want, or as vans, well, they put, you know, vans, trucks, and SUVs in one category. So trucks is really vans, trucks, and SUVs, and then cars are, you know, passenger cars. All right. So D or T, right? That's the entire thing, isn't it? So all you have to do is add those together, because or is just basically not being neither. So neither is the 17%. So just add those up. 33, right? 43, right? So that's what? 77, and then you get a, no, what am I doing? 33, 43, and 7. Okay. So if I add that up, I get 83. Check my math there, but I'm pretty sure I'm good. Okay, so domestic car, right? So domestic and not truck. That'd be a domestic. I'm sorry, imported car. I'm sorry. Imported car. Yeah. No. We'd want this one here, wouldn't we? Right? Because it's not domestic, which means it's foreign. It's not a truck, therefore it's a car. That'd be 17%. I had to flip my brain around there. Domestic car. That'd be this one, right? Domestic and not a truck is a domestic car, correct? So that one's 33. I had them backwards in my head. Okay. A foreign truck. A foreign truck. So it's a truck that's not domestic. That must be foreign, correct? So we got to put a 0.07 there. 0.07. Domestic truck. That's pretty straightforward. That's the 0.43. Okay. All right. So now we have the conditional ones, right? Just let me, wrong screen. All right. So the domestic ones, I'm sorry, domestic trucks and trucks domestic, right? So we had two conditionals essentially. Let's put this over here so I can write a little bit easier again. I like it. Okay, so this is the probability of domestic and truck, right? Over the probability of truck, correct? The probability of truck and domestic over the probability of domestic, right? So either way, truck and domestic is 43%. So either way, both of these are 0.43, right? Because their truck and domestic and truck are the same thing if you swap it around, right? But this is over the probability of truck, which is this one here, correct? Which would be the 50. And then domestic would be these together, which would be 76, correct? Okay. All right, so if we type that out a little bit more neatly, right? Essentially, I had to add those two for the truck, right? And I had to add these two for the domestic, essentially, right? And clearly not the same probabilities for either, essentially. Okay? All right.